Now we have to take a moment for some shameless self-promotion. A while ago we did an appearance at a gun show. They invited us to come back. So on Saturday and Sunday, 11 and 12 March 2023, the crew and I will be at the Rick Riall Gun Show that's held at the Polk County Fairgrounds in Polk County, Oregon. We'll have some guns on display, we'll have the 3-day survival pack, we'll have some t-shirts, maybe we'll tell some anecdotes that aren't really fit to be told in this format. Either way, come out and say hi, it should be fun. Okay, let's get to today's presentation. Hi, we're out on our range today, and we're talking about having confidence, faith, belief, and trust in your ammunition, your firearm, and your ability to use them. Now, some of the things I say might be applicable to some degree for hunting or competition shooting, but I'm talking primarily about handguns for concealed carry, personal protection, and home defense. Now, in preparing for today's presentation, I collected all my thoughts on what topics I wanted to talk about and my dawn of time explanations and the anecdotes I'm going to tell to illustrate these points. And I realized the presentation would be a lot longer than I wanted it to be. So we're doing something we haven't done before, and that is we're putting out two versions of the same presentation. The short version, which you're watching now, and another much longer version with all the dawn of time explanations. I've found that when I do those explanations, it does make my point a little clearer, but it doesn't matter how good the information is if nobody watches it. Some people will look at such a long presentation, see, oh wow, that's prohibitively long, and they won't even watch it. And the information is completely moot if nobody sees it. There are reasons why I tell these anecdotes and why I'm so long-winded. And that is to make the point clearer. Now let me tell you an anecdote. See, just recently we did a presentation where for part of it I'm talking to you and the sun is right behind me. And I mentioned, I know the sun's behind me, but at this time of day, at this time of year, that's what we have to deal with. And there were a few people that commented that I should have moved the camera. Did you really think that never occurred to me? But I forgot that there's a certain percentage of the audience that presumes that I'm developmentally disabled and incapable of thinking about things like maybe moving the camera. No, there are reasons why it has to be facing this direction, but it would take a few minutes to explain why, and I made the mistake of thinking that the people in the audience would just believe that I know what I'm doing. And it is because of things like that that I so often do the anecdotes and the dawn of time explanations. But for the short version, which you're about to watch, we're not going to do anything like that. I'm just going to get to the point, which I know you might be thinking it's already taken me a long time to get to the point. But in doing this, there are two major caveats. One, remember that I'm talking about my opinions. My opinions are based on my experiences. Different people have different experiences, so they have different opinions. And two, remember this is the short version. Before you're going to tell me how bad, wrong, and stupid I am, please put a little effort into making sure you know what you're talking about. Okay, with that, let's get started. You have to have faith, confidence, belief, and above all, trust in your firearm, your ammunition, and your ability to use that firearm. If you get into a lethal confrontation, there's a lot of things that are going to be, or at least should be, going through your mind. Things like, there's my adversary, but there's somebody else over there. Is he another adversary or just a witness? Somebody's over there pulling something out. Is that a cell phone or a gun? In shooting at my adversary, what's the potential for collateral damage due to overpenetration? And the list goes on ad astra. What you don't want to do is take all of those things you need to be thinking about and add other things to them, like, can I hit that target from here? If I do hit that target, is my ammunition going to penetrate that heavy clothing? If it does, is it going to be effective enough to stop the threat? When I pull out my pistol and pull the trigger, is it really going to go off or is it not going to work? You don't want to be thinking about things like that. You have to have the confidence and, above all, trust, and those are two different things, that your firearm and your ammunition are going to work within the parameters you need them to work. And there are 4 major points that I want to cover on how you get that. Point 1 is something that someone called baseless belief systems. There are certain people who are of certain opinions, and those opinions are based on just stories that people told them, or stuff they've made up themselves, or information that's grossly out of date, like what they read in American Rifleman magazine in 1976. And they have these things they believe that are either just wrong or terribly outdated, so outdated that they become wrong. And there's no way that you're going to change their minds. A really good example is the person who thinks that a .22 long rifle won't penetrate a leather jacket or heavy winter clothing, or the other guy that thinks that a .22 long rifle is deadlier than a .357 because it'll pinball around. We've all met those people. And it doesn't matter how many demonstrations you do or how many examples you give them, they are going to stick with that baseless belief system. And so point 1 is, don't be that guy. And recognize when you're talking to that guy, and don't waste your time arguing with him. There's plenty of fence posts out there you can argue with. Now, point 2 is, in developing trust in your firearm, you have to do the research. Is this ammunition going to do what I need it to do? Look in this format and look for demonstrations and tests of that ammunition. Read some articles in the publications. Articles that have been published since the turn of the century, not before. Do your research. Now, point 3 is, in developing trust in your ammunition and your firearm, is do the research yourself. Go to the range and shoot cinder blocks or soda jugs or whatever it is you like to shoot, and test that ammo yourself. I know a lot of people can't do that. They don't have the facilities to do it, but if you can, do it. Also, if you're concerned about the reliability of your firearm, then torture test it. Go to the range and shoot the 200 or maybe 2,000 rounds that you need to shoot until you see that, yes, it really does work correctly. But what if it doesn't? Then get different magazines, get a different type of ammo, change the way you do PMCS, repeat the process until it works satisfactorily. And what if it doesn't? Then get rid of it and try something else. And keep going until you get to where you have ammunition and a firearm that you have trust is going to work. Now, what about trust in your ability to use that firearm? Okay. That trust has to come from knowing your ability. If you can't hit anything at over 5 yards away, then get the proper instruction and the proper amount of the proper type of practice until you can. And if you still can't, well, then you might have to change firearms until you get one that does allow you to hit at the distances which you think you need to shoot. But you have to, point 3, do all of that stuff yourself until you have that trust in your ammunition, your firearm, and your ability to use them. Now, point 4 is, remember, point 1 is the baseless belief system. Recognize when you're talking to somebody and don't be that guy. Point 4 is recognize when you are that guy. There are some people that no matter how many times you tell them that, yes, for citizen concealed carry, 380 with the right ammunition is going to be sufficient. It doesn't matter how many times someone says something like, yeah, I'm a police officer, and we had a rash of murders a while ago where 6 people were shot with 380 ACP, and they all died. Yes, it's powerful enough. No, I still don't trust it. If you're that guy, point 1, recognize when you're that guy and don't be that guy. But point 4, recognize when you're that guy and you're not going to change. And when you go back and forth with watching me demonstrate shooting our meat target with different types of 380 ammo and saying, yeah, if you got this type of ammo, you're good to go, and you still don't believe me, and you watch other people do similar tests and evaluations and you still don't believe them, and you recognize that you're just not going to change no matter how many people tell you how great it is, then get rid of it and get something that you do trust. And that's a big part of all this is, don't be that guy, recognize when you are that guy. And when you are, instead of carrying something you don't trust and getting into a situation like, oh man, I hope this works, get rid of it and get something that when you get into that situation, you can say, yeah, I know this will work. And if that requires that you get one of those double-barreled Derringers in .357 Magnum just because you need that much power, or because you're so convinced that if you get into a shooting, it's going to be against 6 adversaries, so you need something with a 20-shot magazine, and it doesn't matter how many times I tell you that situations like that represent about 1 in a million shootings. If that's what you think is going to happen, then you got to get the gun and ammo that goes with that. So, recap. 1, baseless belief systems. Recognize when you're talking to that guy and don't be that guy. 2, do the research, online publications. 3, do the research yourself until you develop that trust. And if you don't, change whatever it is you're doing. And 4, recognize when you are that guy. And if you are, get something you do trust, no matter what anybody tells you. And that about covers it. So if you've sat through our short version of this presentation, thank you for recognizing you are that guy with the short attention span, and thanks for watching.